What's up guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're back with another tier list for June. It's been about a month since our last one, so as always we're going to bring it out and sort of just show you guys the new update. So obviously a few big ones in here, a lot of questions in here, so if you're not seen a tier list yet, I like to ask a few questions trying to get your perspective of where champs are, and then let me know in the comments down below answering each of the sort of questions or the champions that I'm a little bit unsure about, or who I want to hear a bit more community feedback from. So let's jump straight in with the first champ of the Cosmic class. Obviously you guys know the key there. People is the synergy, star is one just needed their awakening, 2 stars is they need a high sig, brick is just that they're a really good defender rather than being a dual threat. They're just sort of they excel on the defensive side of it rather than the swords, and attacker only, where they've got they're very strong attacker but not very good as a defender. And then finally we've got the 7 stars. So we start with Knull. He is in the orange. Orange normally means that I'm going to be talking about them. Knull is the first one. What do you guys think of Knull? Do you think it's maybe Adam Warlock's taken his place? Do you think that Knull is still very worthy of that top 5 position? I personally think he is, but I know a lot of you guys might disagree, might think Hyperion's up there. For me, Adam Warlock is the one champ who can rival Knull. And other than that, I think Knull should probably stay. Awakened, he's an absolute beast. Incursion run, I recently did one with him and he was just so good. Then we move over to Silver Surfer. He's my first 7 star. I've upgraded him and downgraded Odin. I think Silver Surfer's a little bit stronger, especially as a new 7 star. He has the Furies, the armor ups, making him a miscounter when they're both, you know, you've got 3 or above buffs. And then the unblockable one is SP2. That SP2 can do so much damage. And with the aptitudes that you can get from his SP3, he's just a really good champ. And I think Odin was sort of the next one to go down. The rest of the champs in that class, very solid. I just think Odin is maybe just 1 tier below, and that's why he's moved. And finally, Annihilus is in there as well. Is more of a question. This is another question. So Knull is your first one, Annihilus is your second. Do you think Annihilus is better than any of those champs? Co-Obsidian is probably the one to come down. I think he's a very good champ on the defensive end. Every time I stick him down, if they've not got a Rintra, he normally wins in Battlegrounds. I've gone about 15-2 in Battlegrounds at the minute, all thanks to Annihilus and Mephisto. So let me know in the comments down below what you think of that. Next we move on to the Mutant class. Everything is pretty set in stone in the top 3 classes. Kitty Pryde by far the best. Omega Red potentially new 7 star, the same with Professor X, and I believe it's Colossus who won the vote. If that vote is to go by, it will be Colossus the new 7 star, and if it's not, then we'll have to wait and see. I think Dani Moonstar is the first of our new champs. And I'm not really sure what to make of her. I think she, with that SP2, can do a lot of damage into your block. I don't know if that's her base penetration. Obviously, I've only fought against her in the event quest, or whether she is just that powerful through the block. She comes in the definitely upgrade tier, 1 below this, pushing the boundary. Potentially, Havoc is the one she takes the place of, Havoc or Domino. Domino being a 7 star, it will probably be Havoc, in my personal opinion. And then I also think I just need to see a little bit more of her. I need to play with her. I need to see YouTube videos on her and sort of see where she really excels. So she comes into that tier. Let me know if you guys think that's a little bit too generous or a bit too harsh. Wolverine, new 6 star. Just wanted to put him in there, highlight those critical bleeds with Apocalypse, but I do think maybe he remains in the God tier nonetheless. And then Gambit and Cable have done the switch. Gambit's come up since he's a 7 star. This is obviously based on the best possible champ of this champ in the game. So, you know, if you get your best possible Gambit, he will be better than some of those other champions. He replaces Cable. And then with the Cable, I just think without that Apocalypse synergy, he's not amazing. So he's somebody I want to see maybe get a little bit of a buff just to constantly have that Apocalypse synergy, because without it, he is really not great. So that is the Mutant class, as you can see there. Mystic is next. Very few Mystics. One very questionable one. Mojo moves up for Magic. Magic is a 5 star now. I don't know if we're going to see a 6-star anytime soon due to that the fact that if you get her in a corner, she can basically power lock. So a 5-star in today's day and age with 7 stars out really isn't going to cut it. Just naturally, if you're fighting against 7 stars and you're having to do a lot of parries, that will still bring your health down quite a lot due to that extra block penetration that 7 stars now have. I just think she needs to go down a tier, and I've thought about doing the same with Quake. I've highlighted her there. Quake has come down just because I feel like she is, again, she's a little bit different to Magique. She won't get hit into the block as much, whereas due to the evades that she has and the fact that when hit into her block, that damage is reflected. But I do think Magique is one who's a little bit more affected by being a 5-star. We move across to Mephisto. Mephisto, great champ on Battlegrounds. The fact that he can basically counter Human Torch by being Incinerate immune. Yeah, he does have the... no one's immune to Flame on, but still think is a great one to have with the new 7-star Sunspot also on the menu. And then Mojo, forgot to talk about him. Just really good. The degenerations on both the defensive end and the attacking end is really useful. So I do think that is one to bear in mind. And then finally, moving right across, Thor Jane Foster and Ghost Rider has been a switch I've made. Just think Thor Jane Foster is a little bit better than Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider is one champ who's desperately in need of a buff because he is very cool. We've seen that with Cosmic Ghost Rider, but Thor Jane Foster is a champ who's recently had a buff and is probably a little bit better than Ghost Rider. So that's the Mystic class all done. I'm trying not to rush through this, trying to give you, but I obviously want to get this across quite quickly so you guys can see the video, enjoy it, and not have to spend half an hour watching it. We then move to the Science class, which is definitely a big one of the best classes in this game. Cassie Lang starts. Cassie Lang, very, very good champ. Another one. The reason I've highlighted both her and Spot is, do you think they could replace Overseer or Spidey 2099 in that 5-star class, in the top 5? One of those champs, I think, is probably the next one to go into it. Really, really good champ, both of them. But which one do you guys think is going to replace? Apologies for that noise. That's very, very loud. Very low army helicopter outside. But yeah, I think one of those two champs are the next ones into the top 5. But let me know in the comments down below if you think Spidey or perhaps Overseer are just keeping that spot on. And then Sandman's gone down. Was probably the worst champ of this year. Him or Vision. I just think Sandman's not that great. We need to see more from him. And yeah, I just don't think he has excelled as much as maybe people wanted to see him. So that is the Science class. Also, looking right across there. Let's go to the Skill class here, where a few more champs are highlighted. This is a class I want to speak about. Shang-Chi highlight. First off, what an amazing champion. I've recently taken him to rank 4, unawakened, and he can do some serious, serious damage. You get the hang of his rotation, how to big up those precisions and cruelties, whichever one they are. And that SP2 just does absolutely massive crits. I think he's a really nice champ with lots of utility with that slow in there, the cleanse as well. So he's a champ who I just want to talk about. Do you think he's in that top champ, or is Kingpin still the runner-up here? Moving across to Kate Bishop, a new champ who I do now own. Upgrading and trying to work out the rotation of her as it can be. It's a little bit difficult. There's a lot of information to digest in there, so it's someone I want to work with. And Black Panther OG is another one who's highlighted because I've recently taken him to rank 3, maxed, leveled, and leveled up to rank 3, and I just think he is a really, really nice champ. The crits that you can do with those bleeds, the build-up of the bleeds, the damage over time, and the fact that bleeds and damage over time buffs from skill champions are needed a lot in quests and along story quests, but also event quests. Black Panther OG is a very, very valuable asset to have, and is sort of the reason I've chosen to rank him up, and is definitely someone who deserves that sword emoji because he's a very, very strong attacker. And then I've switched Taskmaster and Karnak around. Karnak, useless champion, really, really bad. Taskmaster, I do think occasionally has those immunities to stun. He builds up the immunities quite well and can do quite a lot of damage. Is someone you want to be wary of in in some fights. I do also think maybe the Moon Knight is the worst champ, or the champ in need of a buff the most is probably Daredevil, but I just would like to see a Moon Knight one a little more, and that's sort of why he's in that area there. And then finally, the tech class. A few champs I own in here who I want to talk about. This is the last class, so hopefully this hasn't gone too quickly, but also not too long for you guys. So let's start. Top 5 cemented in my opinion. Shocker or Shuri. I don't think the next one's in. I do think it'll be Ant-Man Future. Ant-Man and Future or maybe Shuri are the ones in, especially as Shuri is a 7-star. But there's a lot of things to talk about here. Warlock potentially is the next 7-star if that Twitter community vote is anything to go by. So he will obviously stay in that top 5. Shocker, I think, is a really, really nice champ. Very, very easy to get to know. I've put out a video. It's just a couple SP1s and an SP2, and you just do absolutely massive heavy attack damage. Really good for quests where it's plus 400% heavy attacks, and that's where you can do a lot of your damage. And I just think he's very easy to get along with. A few nice immunities to shock. Just a really, really nice champ overall. Good for those short battlegrounds fights. And then Shuri is the complete opposite. Relatively, again, easy to get to know. SP1s build up those critical shocks, reset with heavies. Very easy to use now that she's had that buff. But the one thing with Shuri is she's very, very good in the long fights. The Everest content, very strong. The fact that you can put up those 50 critical shocks and 50 regular shocks and constantly throw SP3s to do big red damage is really, really nice. And the fact that the heavy is the way to refresh is just very, very easy. The untouchable in there also makes her an annoying defender, but she's really just super all-round right now. And then we move to Lady Deathstrike. In the event quest, has that unblockable, makes her quite annoying. Has some nice looking SP1s and SP2. I think she's a really well designed champ. However, it does feel very similar to Warlock in the way that she moves, slides about, and a combination of Wolverine with those long claws. I think she, again, is someone very similar to Dani Moonstar that I need to see a bit more of, just to see how she attacks and defends. I think she can be a strong champ. Lots of immunities in there, and the fact that she, while she has her armor up, just constantly regens, I think means she's going to be a very, very good champ, and potentially will take place of Guardian in that tier below the top 5. So she's one to watch. And Viv Vision has dropped, unfortunately, in this class. The last champion to talk about here. Again, probably the second worst champ of this year. This year has had an amazing lot of champs, and I feel like that Viv Vision is probably one of the weakest, if not the weakest, up there with Sandman of them all. Doesn't really have a specific niche. Good in battlegrounds fights, but not as good as your Shockers or your Kitty Pryde, your Shang-Chi's, your Kingpins, champs like that who are really up there, meaning she doesn't really make it onto many rosters. She's a little bit hard to fight, but with Gallon she just gets absolutely destroyed on defense. So I really think she's a champ who may need a rebalance, which is something I would love to see. That does it for today's tier list. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new around here, join the Discord, subscribe and like this video. I'd massively appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. The link to the tier list will be in the description below also. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video. Goodbye.